But does that mean she can sense all mate bonds? And what the fuck kind of power is that? Is it just because she's some otherworldly being, or like no one else has this power? And why don't they just like have her sniffing around all everywhere? Why don't they have her sniff fucking the lane? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't she just like that's her job? She's the court mate sniffer. Welcome back to the Book Breathing Bitch Queens podcast. I'm Allie.
And I'm Sam. And this week we are looking at chapter 16. This is our first meeting at the House of Wind, their first dinner, when it's a little interview process that nobody knows is an interview process. And so Feyre is officially meeting the inner circle, and we get a lot of backstory, and then she has to decide if she's going to work with them.
She does. Yeah.
She does.
I know. It's like kind of like, oh, yep, they're just eating dinner, but it's also like one of the longest chapters, I feel like.
It is.
It's like,
yeah, there's a lot of backstory. Yeah, it's a long chapter. There's a lot of backstory, but like the scene itself is really just dinner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's funny that the whole thing kind of hinges on his promise, because Rhys is the promise and the choice is, that's his thing. But like, Rhys sauntered towards the two males standing by the dining room doors, giving me the option to stay or join. One word, he'd promise, and we could go. And then she's like, it's like that's the thing that's like, okay, I'll go. Because he said this. So it's interesting.
Well, and I mean, I wrote like she feels safe, but even from like early on, there's an autonomy that he gives her. There's an agency that he gives her that she never has in Spring Court.
And I think that's part of what makes her feel safe is that I have control here.
Yeah.
They were the control freak. I'm just kidding.
Or
it's normal.
Yeah. Or at least there's a say. Like if she has too much, if it's too much, if she's not into it, then she can just go. Like she's not going to be made to feel bad about it.
Mm-hmm. But yeah,
I think it's just a level of like having agency, right? Especially she was actually trapped under the mountain, and then she feels trapped in Spring Court, and so it's not even that big of a. It's not a logical step for Rhys, right? It's not a big logical jump for him to be like, she just felt trapped. Literally, I should probably not push her into anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a huge courtesy. I think it's one of those examples of like the bar for men is in hell. Where you're just like,
let her choose if she could attend something. What a fucking gentleman.
Exactly. They're like, he said that she didn't have to stay and hang out with his friends. That's like top tier mate shit. And you're like, no, that's basic fucking human decency to be like, I'm ready to go home, babe. Let's go. Or Tamlin would have been like, we're staying. Or you
How
can't
would it look if you weren't with me?
Right?
That's what he would say. Mm-hmm. They would think that the High Lord and his fiancée were fighting.
I made a note that their leather, right? We get this again, but that their leathers reminded me of the worn scales of some serpentine beast. And so I just like to make a note whenever serpentine beasts are used with the Night Court, because I am of theory that Rhys's beast form is a wyvern.
Oh yeah. And why is Cassian's face in shadow? I thought it was Azriel that was slightly larger because it said that.
No,
but then it's actually Cassian.
Yeah, Cassian's bigger than Azriel.
That's what I thought, but then I was like, oh, but his face is in shadow, so that must be Azriel. And so, but like, maybe it's just supposed to be like, oh, she's scared,
I think it's just
so
because
they're
he
described
has
as menacing.
Yeah, I think that they just like haven't come in, like, they're kind of both.
Okay, not like shadows that way.
Yeah, that he's like, he's like in a space that's darkened, that he hasn't come into the light. What I feel is really funny to me, so I don't know if you have to do this with cats, but this feels like dog owners who buy another dog, and they're like having their pets meet, and they're like, well, we got to take them for a walk together so that they can learn to be friends. And see if they're gonna nip at each other. Like, this seems to me like Rhys has just brought home a new puppy. And he's
Yes.
trying to see if his other doggies like it. And Cassian's like, I want to play.
That's
And
exactly
Favor's
what that
like,
thing
they're bigger. I don't know. Do I just roll over on my belly right now?
Yes, I will.
Like this has all sorts of
That's
new pet
funny.
vibes.
Yes. And by the way, cats, you do have to do that. We
Yeah.
spent like 4 days let them. You're supposed to like not let them be in the same room and just smell each other through a door. And we spent like 4 days letting them. We'd put their food right next to each other on either side of the door,
Uh-huh.
and that's the way that you're supposed to like do it. And then now they love each other, but it was a bitch at first.
One thing I did right, so when he says, come on, Favor, we don't bite unless you ask us to, surprise sparked through me setting my feet moving, right? And I put like in parentheses, like, keep reaching out your hand. Because doesn't Amryn say that to him about Nesta? And like it's already in Cassian to like kind of be that person, to be like, like I'm gonna keep reaching out. I'm gonna keep seeing if this is, if whatever. But I also love that the second that he says this thing about we don't bite, and Reese says, last I heard, Cassian, no one has ever taken you up off that offer. And then she says, and I honestly wonder who hadn't, like, if because they're so good looking. This I wrote horny bitch next to it.
Mm-hmm.
She like looks at it, she's like, seriously, Reese, no one has ever asked them? Because damn.
They got
like,
eyes?
Reese is like, excuse you, you're my mate. But
Cassie
yeah.
would giggle so hard if he knew she thought that. He would be so into it. He'd be like, you hear that, Reese? Better watch it.
Could you? I want that scene where they're drunk and she's like, the first time I met you, I was like, who wouldn't want you to bite them? And then he'd be like, I forever have something to talk shit to. But then the second that Nesta is like, oh yeah, no, I was really like fantasizing about you and Azriel together, and Azriel's like, let's go, bitch. You've been giving Reese all this shit. My turn. He's like, Favor just wanted you to bite her. Yours straight up wanted me to do all the things.
And Cassian would probably be for it. He'd be like, all right.
Oh, for sure. He's like,
that's funny.
Me and my brother share everything.
Everything.
Wouldn't it be the first time they'd fucked in the same room? Cassian says that in Silver Flame.
Well, and they imply that like it kind of, you get the sense when they talk about like how they wanted to fucking fight that they were just like kind of, I don't know, I guess I imagined them like hanging out with like a bunch of girls and like I just imagine them like doing like orgies and fighting and rolling around and like yeah. I'm sure that's what war is like.
So what it probably is probably Rune's house, the frat house.
Yes.
Which, by the way, we were lining up the description of Rune's house with the description of the townhouse in Valaris. And and Topher was like, he's like, it's basically just, he was like, Rune and his friends are just the bat boys without wings, frat style.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, and then I was like, could you imagine if like it is the same house, which it's not, but whatever. But like, Reese like comes into Rune's house and he's like, my foyer.
Your foyer, what?
It was
that's
so nice.
Cake stands, bro.
There were beautiful pictures. There was a beautiful navy red carpet here. There was this great little table that had flowers. And what is this? And he's like, that's the beer pong table, man.
Reese would not. I mean, but I also feel like Reese would be like, oh, well, he'd play a couple games and he'd be like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Like he's not so stiff, but he would be like a little. He would be like a little princeling for that.
Yeah,
that's hilarious.
But yes, I was just like, oh my god, I was like this, and so Topher has already like gotten on board with like Reese and Rune are just the same people.
Okay.
But I'm trying to make a case that it's Rune and Azriel who are related because
like you're trying to like trick him
because the one of one comment.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So the one of one comment, right, which we posted on TikTok, that like so Azriel is not the Prince of Hell because Bryce says, take me to the Prince of Hell, and she goes to Azriel, but rather that it got her as close to Reese as the house's wards would allow, and Asriel's job is to intercept any danger, so that's why he was there. But it was really taking to Reese. Reese is the Prince of Hell, one of one, like Hunt.
Yes.
And so then I'm looking at all of these descriptions of
Oh, I
Avalon
see.
power, and he talks about it as his shadow powers and his shadow magic, and that like and he winnows through shadows. They don't call it winnowing in the way that he describes it. He calls it shadow walking. He doesn't describe it as winnowing. He doesn't describe it as folding the pieces of the fabric of space and time and walking from one side of the paper to the other. Like every time winnow is discussed, he says he walks through shadows.
Yeah, and that would make sense too, because here as later in the chapter, it talks about like Asriel, it talks about Asriel, shadow singers being really sought after, and they're probably rare because they are probably just actually descended from dust courts.
Yes.
And there's not that many people like that, and it's probably like some kind of recessive fucking gene, and so like I'm sure that's actually what that is a good case for it, because Asriel does look like Reese.
Yes, Asriel looks like Reese. And also, and granted, there is a lot of a case for the Rune Reese thing. Like even
Bryce
is like,
exactly
this
like
looks
him.
just like, and he has the blue eyes, the violet eyes, whatever. Like fine. But there's something about the way that Rune's power, and he is like, the shadows talk to him. And he can mind speak. So like there's this weird something that's going on between, and because every time that I bring it up as it being Asriel, Topher's like, no, that's Reese's. Reese has shadow magic. Reese can do all these same things. And I'm like, that's fine, but
so does Asriel.
Just saying. I was like, you just wait. You just wait. When I'm right, you just wait.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Reese having blue eyes again.
I found this a really interesting description of Cassian on page 158.
Oh, right? I also, on 157, I also noted Cassian's description sounds very godlike. And maybe actually I also meant it on 158 if he's talking about more. But that's what I was noticing. And which part are you pointing to on 158?
So it's the paragraph that starts, Cassian surveyed Reese head to foot, his shoulder-length black hair, blah, blah, blah. He says, so fancy tonight, brother. You even made poor Feyre dress up. He winked at me. And then it says there was something rough-hewn about his features, like he had been made of wind and earth and flame, and all these civilized trappings were little more than an inconvenience.
Maybe that's actually what I was talking about. I thought it was the first mention where I was thinking that I had written this note about him seeming like very like almost like godlike. That is like, that feels mythological. And also we need to read the fucking the beginning of Silver Flames, because that's always been my part where I have always been like, Cassian is something else. Like that chapter is so eerie, and it feels kind of like this. I don't remember it now, but it feels like that. Yeah.
I just think it's really interesting. Like it's weird. So it's different. It seems other. In a way that, like, I don't know, that Illyrians don't seem other to her. She's like, oh, they're like fae. They're like kind of fae-ish with wings, whatever. Like they're warriors, blah, blah, blah. But this is different. Like this whole like sort of like a whole aura that he gives off.
Well, and Asriel, he's got his shit. But but like Cassian also, like, it's super rare for a bastard to have siphons, and he has 7 of them, and like now maybe this is a good case for Cauldron picks your friends, picks your mates, blah blah blah, but like there's some shit, and maybe even like the Cauldron's design, it's still some shit. He is something.
I mean, it's brute strength, right? It's brute raw power, maybe.
Yeah, well, they call it the killing power. I wrote a note like, what is killing power? Because like
I did also question, because if the Illyrians, I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off. No, if the Illyrians were created by the Daglin, and we know that the Daglin
are created by Hell.
No.
Okay, maybe you're probably right. I
think they were created by the Daglin.
Okay.
To be their loyal servants, or their soldiers, and in Thea's war, they rebelled against them, right? They sided with the Fae. So if the Daglin, we know, confirmation, are the same as the Asteri, my assumption is that they're also the same as the Valg. if the Valg created witches and Daglin created the um the Illyrians, what if the yielding power that was given to or created within the witches is a similar type of power, maybe more refined, right? The Illyrians is more refined. Maybe they were like, well, you don't have to kill yourself. Like what happened with the witches is a killing power. The yielding is a killing power, but it's a self-sabotage. They explode too. So what if
Unless
they
it's a
somehow
Mhm.
yeah, or and then if they whatever through experimentations was like, oh, we can get this same level of yielding power, but in a space that doesn't destroy them. But now they need the siphons to be able to use it, right? That there's like the power of in of itself with no tech added. Then you add a tech to it, you add a technology to it, the siphons, it becomes the killing power. And then you take that same level of power and add even more tech to it, you get Crescent City.
So yeah, yeah. So like the witches being a
So
prototype for Illyrians, almost.
yeah,
Interesting.
but
Yeah,
I'm wondering if
there's something
yeah,
weird no
there's
matter what.
something going on there.
I will say I don't love like the purebred stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes more sense if they were actually like literally created by, and they are.
Yeah.
Um, but it is still like, I mean, I like on one hand, like you know,
And what if
Cassian could be. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Oh, on one hand, Cassian could be like, sort of like I like him as just it was just chance. He just is a super strong person,
Mhm.
and he just like the cauldron chooses whoever gets power, and so even though he's not purebred, he's defying those odds because I don't really like the purebred thing. I think it's kind of yucky. But
Yeah.
also, I could see it being like, oh no, he actually is super purebred. He's the prince, but that's a little less interesting to me. Or it's like he's maybe even a revision, or
Mhm.
like another version that was sort of because we
Yeah.
don't know they don't this person she couldn't or wouldn't remember.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what if it was like somebody who walked worlds or like I don't know, but
But like just
it is
imagine. So
something
you have
interesting.
like imagine that the Valg have created the witches and they get the yielding and
Hmm.
then they also have figured out how to breed the wyverns, right? Because it was the king of Aderlin who was breeding the wyverns. They're like, I don't know how the fuck you brought him back, but he did it, right? And
Hmm.
the king and
The
Farrington
grandma.
were Valg, right?
Okay, yeah.
They're right.
Well,
So the
they
Valg
had
also
Valg in them. Yeah. Okay.
so the Valg figure out how to breed or resurrect or whatever the wyverns, right? So now you have witches and wyverns, and then you have the yielding power. What if they merged those two ideas, and that's how you get the Illyrians? So they're like, instead of creating two creatures, we'll just create a blend of them. They already have the winged the Ilkin,
Yep.
right? So if they're like, let's just put all this shit together, we'll give them the killing power. We'll figure out how to aim their yielding so it's not combustible for them and everybody else, and give them wings. So then we don't have to fuck with the wyverns.
Maybe that's also maybe the witches being a heritage is also why the Illyrians like clip their women's wings because maybe the women are actually more powerful and they're like can't have
Yep,
that.
I'm here for that too.
I like that
Yeah.
idea.
I also find it interesting that the second she meets Asriel, she's already honed in on his knife. She's already honed in on Truth Teller.
Immediately.
Which granted, she does notice like the swords at their backs too, but like, right, he'd be and I love that she already has sized Asriel up in 5 seconds, right?
Mm-hmm.
The second male, the more classically beautiful of the two, even the light shied away from the elegant planes of his face, with good reason, beautiful but near unreadable. He'd be the one to look out for. The knife in the dark. Boom, already she knows. She's like, I see you. And then, indeed, an obsidian hilted hunting knife was sheathed at his thigh. And I wrote here, its dark scabbard embossed with a line of silver runes I'd never seen before. Are there word marks on his scabbard?
Definitely. Yeah.
You're like, yes, that's what that means.
I thought you're gonna be a shithead and be like, there were rune dannons on his sword.
There probably is, because yeah, it's mate.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah, she instantly knows, and I think those are for sure word marks. I feel like there's not even a debate
yeah.
about that.
Well, because it's a
Who would
cauldron
debate
made
that?
item, right? It's a cauldron made knife.
Is that confirmed?
Yeah.
I thought it was just a weird knife that Thea made. I didn't realize it was like, or who made it?
Well, so it wasn't Thea. It was one of her people made. It was can't remember the name,
So
but
they made it in Prithian?
yeah.
Hmm.
Because Amryn says when she's talking about in Silver Flames when Nesta creates the weapons, she says there's only other two magically created weapons, and one is like fucking Nimrod or
Lost.
something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it has such a stupid name. And then the other is Gwydion. And Gwydion was lost a millennia ago, but it was a cauldron made sword. And then the other one with a shitty name, she says the rumor has it that Amarantha threw it in the sea. And then we find out that
Amarantha.
Gwydion, that she had it and it wouldn't answer to her, so she threw it in the sea.
I didn't realize it was so recent. Oh wait, Amarantha like 500 years ago.
Nope, like 50.
So it that recently got into Crescent City.
No, Gwydion is the one that went missing a millennia ago. That's
okay.
That's the Starborn sword.
Okay.
And that's because, and then and Amryn is like, it says that it had a mate, that it had there was a mate to it or whatever that's also been lost. And then we find out that it's Truth Teller because at some point, like when Bryce goes into ACOTAR, she's like, I know that shit. And then they like fit together and they sing together or some shit.
That reread's gonna be fresh.
Also, when
I need it real bad.
Also, Gwydion sings in the corner of Rune's room. Like he's one of the scenes where he's like super high out of his face. He like makes a comment about the sword and like the sword's just thrown on top of a pile of laundry in the corner of his room. And he's like, I could have sworn it was singing. Like, what the fuck? And I'm like, oh, so you're a shadow singer and your sword sings too, huh, baby? Okay.
That is so funny.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the classic, very. I will also say, do we know that it was obsidian hilted? Because that's also like Valg shit,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Very strange.
Strange. She get Azrael's scars, which we're not going to find out yet, but
I don't think that this is related, but I did find it interesting that when she's looking at the siphons, right, we have the cobalt one that is on Azrael, but then she talks about Cassian's, and she said a matching one lay atop his left hand. The twin red stones adorned Cassian's gauntlet, their color like the slumbering heart of a flame.
Yes.
And we know that Aelin, that's Cassian's because his are red.
Okay.
And we know that Aelin's sword that she takes out of the place by the lake with the whatever, that sword has a ruby at the top of it, and she imbues that with power after she gets released from Maeve, and it glows like the heart of a flame.
Does it say that?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I don't know that they're related. I don't think they're related, but it would be kind of, because at some point if Aelin busts into this world and she's like, where the fuck did my stone go?
No, because you have to have like 6 of them, but like, or 14
but
of them.
Still, yeah. But there is something.
But maybe it's like,
oh,
that
that's an
kind of
interesting
power.
imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also made fun of Cassian for like always wanting to be a gym rat, always wanting to train. Right.
I wrote, where's he being a gym rat?
It's on 159. So she shifts her feet and says, Cassian's hazel eyes tracked the movement, his mouth twitching to the side. And I honestly thought he was about to give me his professional opinion on how doing so would make me unsteady against an opponent when Azrael clarified, whatever, blah, blah. But yeah, I was like, automatically, he's already in like, do you even lift, Farah?
She's like, no. That's so funny. When I thought about like Cassian was like, I command Rhys's armies, I was like, does Tamlin have armies? Because it seems like, okay, again, we have that problem, which could be a writing problem, But it definitely feels like the Spring Court is empty. But like he has to have some armies, right? Like it's just like what you do.
Well, because they keep asking about them for forever. Oh, we need Tamlin and his armies. We need Tamlin and his armies.
Yeah, but I'm just like, where are these armies? And who's his Cassian? Like, what? Who's? I mean,
Yeah.
You'd think she would have seen his general at some point, but I guess not.
It's Ianthe's dad.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Also, I like how she.
But
thinks
they're
that
not
friend is
friends.
Crazy.
Yeah, they're not friends. That's his general. That's what you do. Get shit done.
He sent his daughter to infiltrate the court. Yikes. But yeah.
Yep.
She was like a friend of Rhysand, not savior, not murderer.
Yeah, because at some point, I think it's during the High Lord meeting, she's like, is Tamlin gonna bring his general? Like, is Ianthe's dad gonna be pissed that I killed his daughter? There's like some weird, or like during the war or something, she's like, I'm gonna have to, like, we're gonna run into his general at some point. That's gonna be awkward.
Yeah. Okay, I have a vague memory of that too. But yeah.
I just also finished reading the section where Rune is talking about the ordeal, and he's like, for some people the ordeal is just like like getting over an illness or a personal strife. For others, it's killing a worm.
Oh yeah.
Just straight up killing a worm.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Topher was like, so subtle.
That's funny. Why don't people bring that up more often? Maybe they do.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I haven't reread Crescent City.
Because it's torture.
Yeah. Yeah. Friendship is a foreign idea to her. I will say, it's kind of interesting, Cassian bringing up the Midgard, like, Tamlin, like, Bronn and Hart or whatever, they do the same thing to her. They're like, what would you do? And she's like, meh. You know, but she's...
Yeah.
Here it's like...
But here's the difference, because Bronn and Hart were there, and they said, what you did was so fucking sick. And she was like, oh yeah, I'm glad that my torture was so much fun for you, you pricks. Cassian, he's like, how did you do that when you look like shit? And then she, so already he wasn't there for his own entertainment. He's like almost not believing it. And because he wasn't there, then she can snap back and be like, how the fuck did you survive? Who sacrificed for you, buddy? You with your little coddled palace. Yeah. And so I think that's the difference, is that, like, you know, and I think also Cassian's the guy who's like, let's just rip all this shit off. Like, Cassian has no like courtly tact yet, and he's like, and he's like, I just want to be friends. Like, I'm just gonna jump in your lap and we're just gonna make it awkward, and you'll love it or you hate it. And like the second he meets her, he's just like, cool, let's get down to business. Like, let's just rip off all these band-aids right now and just be like, how did you do this thing? Know that I don't, like, I'm impressed-ish, but I'm not gonna fawn over you. And so, like, I'm wondering what Rhys has prepped them with. And if Rhys is annoyed right now, if he was just like, don't bring up Amarantha because it's a sore subject, and then Cassian's like, bet. Or if he's like,
maybe he treats them like her and he's just like, they're just gonna do whatever they're gonna do.
Yeah, or he's like, don't bring it up because she's worried that she doesn't like when people like fawn over her or think that she's her savior. And Cassian's like, oh, cool, I know how to make that real simple. We're just gonna like talk about it like it's a thing, and I'm not gonna bow to her, kind of a thing. But I don't know. It's either very intuitive, or it's just Cassian being like, not dumb, but like a little like less than tactful, and just being like,
yeah,
you're like 75 pounds, Farrah. How the fuck did you break bones?
Yeah.
He also likes to spar, so I think that like that's part of it too. He's like, let's just, you know, like when you meet your like boyfriend's friends and they're like, well, I talk a lot of shit to my bestie, and if you're gonna hang out with us, you're gonna have to get used to being talked shit to. You gotta
be one of the bros. Yeah,
kind of.
It's right? Like when you're an older sister and you have like younger brother and their friends, you have to be like the cool older sister who's like shocking. I was always just like the one who's a little unhinged. Yeah, and I just made it my business to just be so annoying or just to tease them endlessly. You know?
I don't even know why I'm trying to figure out Cassian. I should just ask you because
Mhm.
you are Cassian. You're like, oh, this makes perfect sense. My little
Totally.
brother brought a girlfriend home. Oh, we're getting awkward. We're embarrassing this
No, a
motherfucker.
girlfriend I would be a little nicer, but his friends I'd be like, "What are you guys doing? Making out?" Like, I just feel like just fucking with them constantly.
What's going on in here? Circle jerking?
Probably not that. I probably wouldn't have had the balls to say anything, but I was just like a shithead all the time. Yeah, I am. I'm very much Cassian. I am.
That's Cassian energy for sure. He's like,
Oh.
he brought a new friend. We're just gonna razz this chick right now. Fuck it.
Yeah, that's funny. I wrote she's bantering.
Yep. And I love that she thinks she's being like real harsh and snarky. She like is trying to like channel her Nesta to like defend herself, but she's just not as good at it as Nesta is, which is probably a good thing because you know Nesta's fucking harsh as fuck. But like, I love that she's like, I know it was unfair. You're like, babe, you need to set them up for Nesta. Like, you need to be a little snarky because she is just gonna rip all their balls off.
I know. Cassian laughs at Feyre, but he is gonna be like, oof, to Nesta.
Yeah, and even Asriel's kind of impressed that she like has a snarky comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Like Cassian laughs at her, right, when she's like, "Well, how the hell did you manage to survive this long without getting killed?" And Cassian just laughs, and like Asriel's brows flick up, and he's like, "All right, she's fine. She can hang."
Mm-hmm. That was exactly what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And just with your pet
Mm-hmm.
thing about reintroducing the pets, he's like watching them. He's like, "Am I gonna have to grab one of these?"
Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't move too fast. No sudden movements. They're sniffing each other's butts. They're doing okay.
Mm-hmm. Butts have
Nobody's
been
hissed
sniffed.
yet. Yeah, she hissed a little bit, but he's into it.
Funny. Yeah. Do we think anything of Moore's gilded leaves in her hair?
Where does she have gilded leaves?
160, like a third of the way down. It's when it's describing her outfit.
I just thought that they reminded me of Aelin because she wears the gilded combs. I can't remember what they are. I think they're gold and ruby, but she wears the combs.
I wrote spring. I didn't write that recently.
No,
I wrote that the first
if anything, if gilded leaves like in your hair like that, that would remind me more of like I don't know. I go to like sorry, I would go more like Greco-Roman laurel leaves kind of a thing,
which is also interesting. Yeah. Who says we have company? I wrote that down, but I don't remember. Oh yeah. So more.
Yeah. I have something before that though. So it's such an interesting look. She's picking up on things already, but I think there's an interesting tell for Asriel here. So after Moore comes in, right? It was almost enough to just so both Illyrians turned towards her, Cassian bracing his feet slightly apart in a fighting stance. It was almost enough to distract her. So Cassian is almost enough to distract her, but not enough from her noticing Asriel as those shadows lightened and his gaze slid over Moore's body, and then her dress and the cuffs and the combs and yada 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 yada. A wisp of shadow curled around Asriel's ear, and his eye snapped to mine. She's paying attention to Asriel watching Moore, and his shadows are like, she's watching. She noticed. And he just and he snaps straight to hers, and then she schools her face into being bored. Like, I didn't see anything. I don't think anything.
But what does it mean?
Like, nobody knows what it means. It's provocative. It gets the people going.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, have I told you that every time it says like calls to like, me and Topher read it as real recognize real?
Yes, that is exactly what that
Every
is.
time.
That's
It's
hilarious.
also already shown up in Crescent City like 4 times, and I just replace it every time. Like, it's just standard in the book.
Real recognize real. That's so funny.
You know what they say? Real recognize real.
They do say that. It's so funny.
It's my favorite thing.
Mhm.
We have oh yeah, right. I wrote, "What secrets are you keeping?" when he interrupts. We have company. So, um, unlike some people, this is what Cassian says: "I have better things to do with my time than sit in front of a mirror for hours." And then Moore says, "Yes, since swaggering around Valaris, doing what? Doing what?" Because she's cut off, and Azrael says, "We have company."
Yeah, what is that about?
What secrets you keep in, Az? All of them. All of them. He is the Gretchen Wiener. He knows all the secrets. That's why his wings are so big. They're full of secrets.
Someone needs to make that.
I saw it. I stole it from someone.
Oh,
It's
okay,
like
okay.
the perfect thing where it's like the Mean Girls, the blonde one who's really dumb. They're like, that's Cassian. They're like, she's so stupid. And then it's the Gretchen Wiener who is Azrael, and they're like, that's why his wings are so big, because it's full of secrets. And then they're like, and then the Regina George, the queen, and you see Reese, and I'm like, yes, that's exactly what that is.
It's so funny. Oh yeah, and then Amren introduction.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so much attention to Azrael's shadows.
Yep.
It is interesting how scary she is to people.
Yeah, Amren.
Yeah.
Again, no in my bones wasn't Faye. Granted,
Yes,
now
in my
now her bones are Faye, right? She's been made, but still that same thing where it's like, what is that? Like, it's
She has a lot of instincts. Even watching Azrael, she's like has a lot of instincts.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is pertinent, but Amren wears gray a lot.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I always kind of like it seemed like it's down to like they all have a color, and that's Amren's, but it's also a weird choice for a character.
I wonder if it was the color of her wings.
Maybe like silver.
Hunt has gray wings, right? One of the fallen angels, right? They have there's a range, right, from white to black and like grays in between and stuff. And like the more pure, right, whatever the fuck that means, like Micah and Isaiah have pure white wings. Hunts are gray. And like other
But she's certainly something more than that. But yeah, maybe it's a similar kind of thing.
But maybe there's some, because then when we do see her form, she looks like she has wings, doesn't she? Doesn't she look like an angel?
Maybe.
She's got like a halo and shit and everything.
Remember.
There's some weird shit happening. But yeah. I just always thought I was like, really? Like like Amren, it seems so kind of extra, right? She loves a ruby, she loves a diamond, she loves the jewels, she loves the opulence. You would think that she would just be wearing like fucking gold all the time, but it's pewter gray.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's meant to be silver.
Yeah. I mean, it could be because her eyes, right? She's like, my eyes are gray, silver. It looks nice with my eyes, whatever. But it just seems weird because she's always in it. And then it always, like, oh, the gray that she favors. And I'm like, why are you favoring gray, bitch?
Why do you favor? Yeah.
Yeah. Gray's a fine color, but it's just interesting. I love that she's kind of already jealous.
Where?
So on 162, right?
Oh yes, of the jewelry.
Yeah, because so your taste remained excellent, High Lord. Thank you. Her voice was soft but honed sharper than any blade I encountered. Her slim, small fingers grazed a delicate silver and pearl brooch pinned to her right breast. So that was who he was buying jewelry for. The jewelry I was to never, under any circumstances, try to steal. And I wrote, you wouldn't anyways, but okay. And then, I studied Reese and Amren as if I might be able to read what further bond lay between them. She's like, you fuck her?
She's like, this is your side chick?
This your main chick? What is this?
No having chicks. Yeah.
Also, everything, so he says, "It suits you, Amryn." She goes, "Everything suits me," she said. "And those horrible, enchanting eyes again met my own like leashed lightning." Since we're talking about Hunt.
Yes, I wrote the same. Yes, yes. Leash lightning is so interesting. I mean, I would be. I feel like I would be annoyed if she was just an angel, but that is
Hmm.
an interesting thing. Although Hunt is also he has lightning because he's what is he called? What was Sophia? What is she?
She's a Thunderbird.
Well, I don't think Amren's like no. That's not.
Mm-mm.
It's not cool enough. It's not
No.
crazy enough. People are like
Yeah.
scared of her at first sight. Like I feel like it needs to be something insane.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Also, they like straight up say there's a northern and southern rifts that open up to other realms in Crescent City. They're just like, oh yeah, when everybody came through, this world was full of humans, and then the northern rift opened, and everybody just came through, and then there was some fucked up war. Like they just straight out tell you at the beginning of Crescent City.
Interesting.
And I was
That's
like,
so
cool. So
weird.
when the northern rift opened in Crescent City, that's when Akatar and Throne of Glass Fae come into that world. Is that also when Amryn was able to jump?
Yeah, that is a good case for that.
Because that's how the Asteri
Mm-hmm.
get there.
Hmm. Now I would love to find out that Amryn is just a tamed, nice Asteri or something.
Right?
That would make more sense.
Or she's something that fought Asteri for forever. Like maybe like I don't know. Maybe her I don't know. I feel like she can't be Valg. She can't be Asteri. I don't like that so much, but I could see it being like
Well, like you're like the one good one. You're proof that the race isn't
that's
evil.
fair. That's fair.
That's the same reason why I like it for Reese. From
Yeah.
like my Christian upbringing, I like a redemptive story. Probably that is why I like it.
Yeah, probably.
Who are the ancient players?
I wrote the same thing.
Is Hybern an ancient player?
I said 500 ancient or like 5,000 ancient. Because
Why
what
would Amryn, someone
she
who's so old, say
she's
ancient?
1,500 years old. All the ancient players in play. What is ancient to Amryn?
Yeah. Yeah. Like, well,
And
maybe
then
she just
that
means
and
my
then
age.
yeah, well that or like even still like is she saying it because then that would imply that Reese is ancient.
Yeah, she can't.
She can't think that. She can't be like all the ancient players are in play. They were always in play because they're still alive.
Mm-hmm.
Reese isn't back in play. He never died.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Reese isn't one of them. Like, I don't get
Unless she's talking about Koshé already.
Does she know about Kochi? She could.
Maybe she feels it. Maybe she just like
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe she's like in tune with it. She's like or maybe she's talking about the cauldron.
That's the ancient player? And would she say all the ancient players?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah, because I'm like, are you talking about Hybern and Jurian it just feels weird.
It feels like there's something more. And,
That would be
you
like
know,
us being like, oh, we're back in the Middle East. All the ancient players are at play.
mm-hmm.
Bitch, we were there like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I get that there's people who are alive today who don't remember 9/11, but like, it's not an ancient war. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh, the attack on the
Or someone
attack
who's
on
old wouldn't call it ancient. They would say when I was
yeah,
young or
right,
something.
exactly. No one's gonna be calling the. I mean, unless yeah, that would be wild, and it would also still be wild if we were like the attack on Iran, all those ancient players back in play. You know, the Persian Empire. What? What? It doesn't make. I'm just who is ancient? Who's in play?
Yeah. I want. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And not even when they have returned, is what she says.
Yes.
Interesting that it should happen again, right as all the ancient players have returned. Excuse me, bitch. What does that mean? And I mean, maybe it's right. Reese has returned home. Hybern has returned home. The cauldron is like I don't maybe, but it just feels super weird for her to be like that. Yeah, it would be like us calling Al Qaeda an ancient power.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel
Dude.
like What? No, that was 20 years ago. 30 years ago. That's not ancient.
That's so weird. That's crazy.
There are so many spaces where they cut each other off, and I just want them to
Yeah.
finish their goddamn sentences. Because same thing on 163, right? That she right, I asked Reese if I could take you to dinner, just the two of us, and he said you wouldn't want to, but honestly, would you rather spend time with those two ancient boars or me? That's what Moore asks. And then Reese says, for someone who's the same age as me, you seem to forget. And then she cuts him off and says, everybody wants to talk, talk, talk. Let's
Okay,
eat,
I
eat,
will say
eat.
this whole section with Moore seems a little weird. Like because it starts with Amryn being like, all the ancient players have returned. And then she smells the mate bond, and then she said, she smells the mate bond, and then she says, "You're very blood."
Wait,
Oh,
where?
in the
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
oh,
Sorry, I
yeah,
just
yeah,
assumed
yeah.
that
Uh
you already
huh.
knew that because people have pointed that out a bunch. But have you seen that before?
No, I did. I questioned if it was mate bond or if it was just made, but yeah, no, I guess that
I
makes
think
sense that she
Reese
sniffed
says it in
again.
chapter
I never
54
felt
that she had noticed it then or something like that. I think we have very clear confirmation or something.
got it.
Um, but yeah. Yeah. So she smells the mate bond, and then she says, "Your very blood, your very veins, your bones were made, a mortal soul in an immortal body." And then Moore does not actually cut off, but she basically just changes the conversation. She goes, "I'm hungry." And I feel like, on some level it's supposed to be like, this
Mm-hmm.
is banter. They're just friends who are being like, "Stop taking yourself so seriously." And like they're joking around, but it's also like that's a weird, I don't know. Maybe she is just bored with Amryn being dramatic. But I think it definitely doubles as banter, or it seems
Maybe,
like let's change the
or,
subject.
or, yeah, maybe she doesn't want to talk
Oh,
about
true.
Miriam
Yeah, yeah. Because she seems weirdly insistent on this. Like
because,
she keeps cutting people off. She's like, "Let's eat."
yeah, well, because I get it, because during that war, that was when she had um, one of the human queens in that war was her lover. That was the
Oh
first time that she was
yeah,
with a woman.
yeah.
And she died and she was all fucked up about it. So like maybe that's part of this where she's just like, I don't want to talk about the war. I don't want to talk about the ancient players. I don't want to talk about Miriam. Let's
I
go.
like that
Like I
reading
don't want to
too. But
let's
with
move
our
on.
evil Moore theories, this would be
Mhm.
like an interesting. What ancient players does Moore know?
Yeah. The ones who went down on her.
Sure, those ones too. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I did find it weird how derailing she is. Like it seems kind of weird.
Mhm.
Um,
The only thing I have on 164 is when he calls it a family dinner and not a court
she's
gathering and
like,
she
what
makes
the
it
fuck?
a thought.
Um. Oh wait, I have a question. So we know that Amryn smells the mate bond, but does that mean she can sense all mate bonds? And what the fuck kind of power is that? Is it just because she's some otherworldly being, or like no one else has this power? And why don't they just like have her sniffing around all everywhere? Why don't they have her sniff fucking Elaine? You know what I mean? Like, why isn't she just like that's her job? She's the court
uh,
mate sniffer, and like, she would.
that would make her a bloodhound.
Okay, true.
There you go.
But like seriously, like that's a weird power that nobody else has ever had, right?
No, but Lucian can see bargain. He can see through glamour
His eye?
with his eye, with his mad eye, and I'm pretty sure that he can see mate bonds with it.
Why? Why do you think that?
There was I'm gonna have once we get to it, but there was something, and because I was so he says something about being able to see glamour, and I was so confused because she glamours her
She
entire
glamours her.
fucking mate
Well, it's
bond
also
hand.
her wedding
She glamour
tattoo. What wedding bond?
Yes, it's the mate bond tattoo that's on her right arm. She glamours that when she goes back to spring court, and he says something about being able to see through glamour, that the eye can see through glamour. So I'm like, is this motherfucker? She just should, and that's why he's like all sketchy about her because he's like, you little lying bitch, but he doesn't say anything the whole time.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? that he was like, and like the reason why he doesn't, maybe he could be like, well, they had my mate, and like
Mhm.
that's more important, and like I was just like, or whatever. But there could be something else where he was like, I was so over Tamlin's shit, I just wanted to see how this was gonna
Yeah.
play
I
out.
mean, and well, but it's not like he can see the mate bond. It's just that he can see the tattoo that became there because when you get married, it's like I assume she had some kind of tattoo because she got married or became High Lady. That's what she's hiding. So it's not
Yeah.
like it's the mate bond itself that he's seeing.
No, but it's the tattoo that represents the mate
Yes.
bond and
So he can
some
see through
bargain
that, and
about
he's
her
like
being
that.
highly.
I mean, that could technically maybe be like, oh, it took away the bond. Hybrid broke the bond, but the tattoo's still there, although it probably would disappear.
It's on a whole
Oh,
different
true.
arm.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I mean, I kind of like the idea that Lucian would just be like, who fucking cares? Yeah.
Yeah. Or he's just like, I can't. But then he also never asks her about it. Like, I don't know.
Well,
Lucian's
hopefully
got
we'll
shit
have
going
3
on. I also think
freaking
that
books to talk about it.
there's also, yeah, there's also a moment where Lucian seems to also resent the mate bond.
Yeah, although that's fair because it's
When
like,
he's,
he might could just have a normal life if he didn't have a mate bond with someone who didn't really like him so much, and so he's like, "What the
or he,
fuck?"
like, makes a snarky comment, like, there's something I don't know if it's Reese or Cassian, I think it's Cassian who, like, he's in Lucian's in Valaris in his apartment or whatever, and Cassian goes to visit him, it's in Silver Flame, and he's just like, "I thought you would be at the house," and he was like, "I'm not always here for my mate, like, I got
Mhm.
other shit to do, dude, like, but, like, the way that he says it is kind of dismissive of, like, "It's not the only reason why I'm here, fuckhead,"
Yeah, although I feel
like,
like it's because he doesn't wanna seem desperate too, because it's like, "Oh, you're just pining
maybe.
over this mate who doesn't give a shit." Like
Yeah. I wanna hear Lucian's side of things where he's just like, "I don't even know if I like her."
Yeah.
Like, he's like, "She doesn't talk to me. She doesn't want anything to
Make
do with me."
Lucian rejects the
And
mate bond, and it's not a li around.
and maybe he's like yeah, he's like, "And in all honesty, I don't know her. I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
gonna like her. I fell in love once. That's who I would want back. Now I'm saddled with some chick who I don't know." And like, yeah, there's a part of me that's like, fucking pulled that way, but I could see Lucian being like, I'm
Mhm.
good. It sucks, but I'm good. Like, but also he says, I mean, we see this with Ianthe, and it could just be an excuse, but he's just like, I'm a mated male, right? Where he like turns
Mhm.
down her advances, but that could also just be an excuse because he doesn't want anything to do with Ianthe. I'm like, are you fucking other bitches on the side, Lucian? Are
Maybe
you are
he's
you are you getting yours
with
somewhere?
Vasa. I
Maybe.
kinda don't think so, but
Or I don't think so either, but
possible.
I think Vasa and Jurian
Yeah,
are a better
they seem like it.
better
Yeah.
theory match. But yeah,
Uh,
I don't think Lucian honestly, I don't think that Lucian would fall for a human because of having already lost someone he loves.
well, she's not human.
Vasa's a
Oh,
well, I mean, she's been cursed, but she's
you're
still a
right.
human queen. She's gonna have a human lifespan. Anyways, we're way off
No, we're not,
topic.
we're not. We were talking about the Mavons. I was just trying to read my next note. I don't know what part I'm talking about though.
This is the cocoon. Is it
Maybe.
the cocoon question? 165. Across from me, a cocoon of silence seemed to pulse around Azrael, even as the others dug into their food. I again peered at the
Huh.
oval of blue stone on his gauntlets as he sipped from his glass of wine. Azrael noted the look, shifted as it had been, swift as it had been, as I had a feeling he'd been noticing and cataloging all of my movements, words, and breaths. He held up his hand. The back of both of those jewels were on full display. They're called siphons. They concentrate the focus, the power in battle. So, like, cool. He saw her looking at it, so he comments. But here's the thing there's a cocoon of silence around him. And I said, is he warding against the sound of like, of his shadows talking to him right now?
I don't know. I just thought that it was a weird thing. I thought like maybe. Let's see. But how could you notice a cocoon of silence? Like,
Mm hmm. Seems to pulse around him. That seems like an air ward.
yeah. But also, why is he cataloging her movements? Is this are we supposed to get the impression that he just does it to everybody? Or is he, like, sussing her out? Is it just, like, gossipy, like, let's see what my
yeah, maybe
let's see if she's gonna be a
that, or
mate,
he's just like,
you
right,
know?
that, or just, his job is to be spy and to
Yeah, so it's
pay
maybe just
attention
setting
to
up who he
every
is.
little thing. So, like, maybe it's just his instinct. But this is also a question about, like, is this also a little bit of, like, Daemati power that we're seeing?
From Asriel?
Well, she, like, right, Asriel noted the look, swifted as it had been. So she, like, looks over at him real quick, and he noted the quick movement. He notices she's looking at his siphon, and he answers about the siphon. He knows she's questioning the siphon.
Yeah. Well, I think I don't know if we already talked about this.
Or did he hear her thoughts? Did her shadows hear her thoughts and tell him?
Yeah. Well, did we talk about maybe Shadow Singer being Daemati? Because oh, maybe I just had that thought
Well, if
myself.
so, shadow singing, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we talked about it last time that shadow singing and Daemati, or it something in that same vein where the shadows are maybe what tell you what other people's
Mhm.
thoughts are. Because in Avalon, the shadow
Yes.
magic there is also Daemati power, and it's
Yeah.
called Daemati. And there's also, like, Rune talks about how the shadows tell him things and show him things, and he can shadow walk. So there's this weird, like, blend of Reese Azrael esque powers. And so, if we're trying to fucking
Mhm.
theorize, I'm wondering if Azrael's shadows tell him more than what is just visible to the eye, if it can also tell them about people's thoughts. So it wouldn't necessarily be Daemati power where he can't, like, whatever, but even Rune says that his shadows can be, like, turned into something tangible and can, like, shields or weapons, like he can stab with his shadows, and he can also torture with his shadows, both physical and
Hmm.
mental,
Hmm.
which again seems more
Yeah.
Reese. But I'm just wondering, what does Azrael do with these
Yeah.
shadows, man?
I will also say on 168, I know I'm jumping ahead, but just for a second, at the bottom of that page, it says, they say he's a shadow singer. And then she goes, shadow singer. Yes, the title, whatever it meant, seemed to fit. And then Reese says, like the Day
Hmm.
Maudie, shadow singers are rare.
Yep.
But I was, to me, I go, shadow singer, and he goes, like Day Maudie. He's like putting, I know it's not really reading like that, but
Well,
that's
yeah,
kind of the
it's
vibe.
but he's but even still, coveted by the courts and territories across the world for their stealth and predisposition to hear and feel things
Yes.
others
So
can't.
they are somewhat related, but even like, yeah.
Maybe it's not a direct, like, words in his mind, but maybe he can feel people's emotions through the
Yeah.
shadows,
It is interesting.
you know?
Which would explain why it seems like he's like kind of reading her mind a little bit. So maybe he just felt her curiosity. Um,
Yeah. We already talked about this, the killing power that's talked about.
uh-huh.
Then I wrote, like, the yielding question mark. Um,
Oh yeah, it does say raw power, right? I said they use raw power. It, and also it
killing
says that
power.
like yeah, the breeding thing it also does imply that they weren't always like that, that they yeah, they were bred. Which I guess we just
Yeah.
know that they were bred like by whatever. Also,
hmm
how do they know? I guess they just yeah. Um Also I forgot that their power actually conjures weapons. Is that always what their power does?
Yeah, because they can create shields with their
So
powers.
is that just all they're doing? They're just
They
like
use
making weapons and shields out of thin air and then just that's it?
like how Aelin does, where she can turn her flames into shields and things to, like, cut with. I think that that's what I mean. It's like, because when they're in battle, she says, like, she sees the siphons glowing and, like, shields spring up. So I think it's like the magic in themselves is the shields.
Okay.
Not like they use it to forge real tangible weapons, but
Okay,
that
that's what I meant. Like I
they
was like,
can
are they
bend.
making weapons?
No, 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 no. No, I think they can bend the magic into something that is a weapon
Mm.
and
So
things
they're
like that.
never like shooting just like red spark. It's always like something that looks like something or that's like very
No, I think
Okay.
it's red spark. I think it's red light. Yeah, I think it's their light because when she talks about the shields going up, it's like a red, red and blue like domes over the city, or like they put their arms out in front of them, the other Illyrians, and there's like a shield of
Okay. I
light
am just a
that's in
dumbass.
front of them.
Got it.
I mean, it's fine. I still like you. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah. I need to know literally what this means.
it's a
Yeah.
literal sword.
So this was also my question here. So, and he could just be agreeing, but right. So Reese is clarifying, right? The power of the strong Illyrian tends towards incinerate now, ask questions later. They have they have little magical gifts beyond that, the killing power. And then Amryn says the gift of a violent warmongering people. Asriel nodded, shadows wreathing his neck and his wrist. Cassian gave him a sharp look, face tightening, but Asriel ignored him. I don't think he's agreeing. I mean, he could be, right? He could be just agreeing because he fucking hates Illyrians too, right? He doesn't like that part of him. He doesn't like the people and whatever. And so maybe when Amryn is like, yep, violent warmongering people, and Asriel's like, yeah, they all suck. And then Cassian's like, dude, they're not that bad. You know you like us, right? Whatever, fine. But what if his shadows are talking to him right now? So this whole conversation's going on. Asriel's nodding to his shadows, and Cassian's like, bruh, quit talking to yourself.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
It's just so, I'm like, is he nodding because he's agreeing that Amryn's saying that they're a warmongering people and Cassian's insulted by that? Or does Cassian know what Asriel is
Or
doing,
he just sees,
which is
yeah.
shadow talk?
Or maybe he's just like,
Yeah.
calm
And it's
down,
just
bro.
like,
Like, it's just, she's just telling him what it's like. Um,
but all he did was nod. Like, they're a warmongering people. And Asriel's like, yep. And then Cassian's going to give him a sharp look. It's a true statement.
yeah. I mean, I think its baseline supposed to create like kind of an air of tension, of scary, of strangeness. So it does that, but I am wondering like what it all means as well. Because yeah, it is a weird thing to respond like that to that. It could just, yeah, I think I just interpret it as that he's just like, I feel that trauma and now it makes me mad. But if anything, Cassian would join in on
I don't
that.
know. I thought that there could be something
I
else
think
going
so.
on
Yeah,
here
no, I think so.
entirely, and that,
Well, I just don't know. It seems like silly for it to be
and
so
like even
complicated.
Cassian like looking over and being like that, or like Cassian knows that he's talking with his shadows, and he's not annoyed by it, but he's just like, bro, we're at dinner.
It's
Stop.
funny.
And Asriel's like, let me do my job, even if I'm supposed to be chilling.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just like, that seems it's a weird little thing.
Do shields and weapons and arrows and spears.
Yeah, it's like a laser pointer that actually
Mm-hmm.
hurts.
With the Lord Cassian thing I wrote, Tamlin taught her to use proper hierarchy.
Uh-huh. I love that he like straight up spits his wine all over Moore at that. When it says on 166 where he says Moore, believe it or not, is the only pureblood titled person in this room. And I said, is she though?
And also, why did he say person? Not Faye?
Because she's a witch, bro.
I mean, it's open.
His cousin was a witch.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that she could be. I mean, what if she's like purebred? But that also doesn't make any sense because she's Fae, and the witches aren't Fae. But yeah, that's why I was like, is she? Does she not have like some old Croken blood somewhere? Is she not some Croken queen? What's happening here?
Yeah.
She got witch. She's got some witch
No, she
energy.
definitely does. Oh, and also, yeah, Under the Mountains being super touchy for them. I think that's well done. You could really see all
Yeah,
the tension without like it's that part is not exposition.
yeah, because I said, yeah, I wrote like, is she? Are they ashamed, or are they worried that she's going to judge her? And I
I
think
think they're
both of those
mad
are
at
true.
Reese. Like,
Well,
I think
yeah.
it's honestly for like Cassian, his reaction is like literally like he's just so mad that Reese, like, he's like, ditched him.
I mean, I think that there is a place where they're upset with him for making that like self-sacrifice for them, but I also think that there's some guilt in
Oh yeah.
that they're like, he did this and we got to live here and he was suffered, and like they don't know the extent of his suffering yet. They find out more along the way and it kind of
They don't
fucks with
know it
them
yet?
too. And even in Silver, they don't
Oh,
know all of it yet,
okay.
no. Because there's at some point when I think he's in the High Lord meeting, and he says something about, because they asked where was he when all of the like winter children were murdered, and he was like, I was sequestered, and they were like, where? And he was like, to her room. And like Cassian and Azriel are like, what the fuck? Like they suspected, but I
I
don't
think I
think
do
he's ever
remember that.
confirmed.
Yeah.
And so I think that there's like a little bit of like both they're frustrated with the choice that he made, but also there's guilt. There's like a survivor's guilt
Mhm.
almost for it. And I think there's also maybe a little bit of like, do they think that Feyre's going to judge them
Mhm.
for it? Because she already kind of has,
Yeah.
right? He makes a comment about the worm, and she's like, "And where were you? How did you not?" Kind of a thing. And so it's kind of already there. And so then when Amarantha didn't know they existed, and then a shutter went down by a spy, and not at the cold killer, but you truly kept this city and all these people hidden from her for 50 years. And then that's when Cassian is staring hard at his plate as if he might burst out of
Mhm.
his skin. And then Amryn says, we'll continue to keep the city and these people hidden from our enemies for a great many more. Not really, about another year and a half, but
Yeah.
um, and then she says, and it killed them, the four people at this table, it killed them all that he'd done it, however he'd done it, even Amryn. So like she sees that they feel guilt or anger or something over it, like it
Yeah.
fucks with them.
She gets him a little bit more. And she's immediately like, "Oh, I can see why. At least you could save something." She's yeah, kind of jumping into the
Yeah, she's starting to get
mental
it.
mentality behind it.
Hmm. They give her a ton of hope because more she like already she has this like camaraderie with more that's even a little more, I guess, deeper than the other ones, right? Because she says there's not one person in this city who is unaware of what went on outside of these borders or of the cost. And then I didn't want to ask what price had been demanded. The pain that laced the heavy silence told me enough. Yet, if they all lived through their pain, might still laugh. I cleared my throat, straightening, and it was Azrael, whose shadows, or no, seemed the safest and therefore probably was the least so. And then she asked how they mate. But like, there's hope almost where like she sees them all still kind of being fucked up and suffering and things that went on. And she's like, they're all here hanging out and trying to be happy. Like, maybe there's some hope for me that it can
Yeah.
get better. I do love that she's like Astral seems the safest, which is probably mean that he's not. And I love that she's already like come up with that where she's like, but she still asks him, right? It's like he feels the safest, which is also a warning sign to her that he's probably not the safest. And yet he's the one that she asks the
Mhm.
question to.
To be fair, Cassian's very stuck in his bromance right now, and he's like, yeah, I wouldn't ask a Cassian
Yeah.
either. He's, yeah, staring at Reese with guilt and love on his face, so deep. He is really like a puppy dog.
Yeah.
It's like so his owner went on a walk without him, and he's like, "What the fuck, man?"
Hmm. She's like, there's a she's like, is that who you also buy jewelry for?
Yes. But you can definitely see their bond, and it's very deep. And
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, she asks Asriel, but then Asriel turns to Cassian, like, you tell her. He's like, I don't want to talk that much. I'm trying to listen right now to my shadows. I'm having this other conversation. Go ahead.
And then he snaps out of it and performs. And but she's still noticing Reese. She's still paying attention to him a lot. And
Hmm.
I kind of hate lines like this. Like there's something about them that feel like cringy, but like also I know there's like a nice moment. Confession for a confession. I thought he did it for my sake. Maybe he had things he needed to give voice to, couldn't voice to those people. Like, I don't know. It just feels like Barney. Maybe that's my.
I love that. I love all the touching moments are
No,
so
like
cringe
some
to
of them
you.
are
You're just
nice,
like,
but this one in particular, I'm just like, Or I think it's just like literally could
mhm.
just have been phrased a little differently, and it wouldn't feel like that. But I'm just like, I
Yeah,
can't. Maybe I'm like freaking. Yeah.
Cassian.
What?
You're
Yeah, it's
Cassian.
true.
That's why.
I'm like, come on. Yeah.
What do you mean you can't tell me what happened?
Yeah.
Yeah. Although she does kind of recognize a little bit of PTSD in Reese too,
Yeah.
right? His eyes winking
Well, and
out
that's
and like
like,
what they'd asked about Amarantha, like what horrors I'd made him remember. Like she gets it. She understands
yeah, and I
triggers.
do think it's an essential moment for her. Like, well, you could probably imply that it's happening off screen, but it's one of those things where you're like, oh, she's sympathizing with Reese, and this is where their bond is
Mhm.
connecting, and she's
I think
realizing he's not just. It's not all about her.
I also think that it's telling to the reader that there's a different kind of bond between the Reese and his group of people who he's been with for forever and this sort of like new
Hmm.
friend, right? Because it's almost like people would be like, wow, he like let her into the inner circle super fast. You're like, well, yeah, because there's things that he can talk to her about that he can't talk to the
Hmm.
others about because of that history.
Yeah.
You know, it's like sometimes you can't tell your family all of your fucked up shit. You need your bestie and vice versa, right? It's like sometimes you got to go through your trauma separate from the people who have known you
Well,
since
and he probably
birth.
just also doesn't want to make them feel more guilty, so he's like,
Yeah.
Feyre doesn't feel that, so he's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, Pharaoh
Yeah.
was there,
Yeah.
right? To, you know, we share
And
this
she
to
already
some
knows
extent.
about
And
like
also
the Amarantha's whore thing.
yeah, exactly. They know that he's called that. I just don't think that it was like he ever confirmed that that's what had happened. And so I think that that's when he says it, that's when they have that like, ugh, okay, so it did happen
Hmm.
kind of a
Hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, the now we're getting into the backstory.
This is, yes. We are bastards, you know, as and I, the Illyrians. We love our people and our traditions, but they dwell in clans and camps deep into the mountains of the north and do not like outsiders, especially high fae who try to tell them what to do, but they're just as obsessive with lineage and have their own princes and lords among them. I highlighted that
Hmm.
because I thought it was interesting. Anyways, as he pointed a thumb in the direction in his direction, his red siphons catching the light, was a bastard of one of the local lords, and if you think a bastard son of a lord is hated, then you can't imagine how hated the bastard is of a war camp laundress and warrior she couldn't or wouldn't remember. And I said, who was this person and is she protecting this information?
It's Cassian's mom. And what do you mean?
Yeah. So that she couldn't or wouldn't remember
That's the person I'm like, this is why
who.
Cassian is made of wind and earth and mud, because what the fuck?
Yes. But here's the thing. What if
Oh,
Reese's
yes,
dad,
yeah.
what if the High Lord had an affair, less nefarious, all the way up to fully assaulted, much more
Mhm.
nefarious, Cassian's mom. She couldn't or wouldn't tell them who got her pregnant, who Cassian's dad was. That feels like a power struggle to me.
Mhm.
Now, it could just be another warrior and that he's got friends and there's retribution, but she could like but it just feels weird for her to be like, nope, I got pregnant. And okay, well, who did you sleep with? Can't remember. I do not recall.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, okay, so who is this person? And then that opens it up for, could it have been an affair with the High Lord, not Reese, with Reese's dad, making Cassian and Reese actual
Mhm.
half brothers, which would speak to the possibility of end game being that Feyre and Reese go fuck off Miriam Dracon style at the end of this series and go world walk together with their little weird bargain, and that Cassian becomes High Lord of the Night Court with Nesta being High Lady. Because throughout, starting in, I believe it's as early as Frost and Starlight, he keeps telling Cassian, you got to step it up. You got to take on more
Yeah.
responsibilities. And then he makes him a courtier almost in Silver
But
Flame.
also,
He's
I
like,
have
"You deal with Eris," and he blames it on like, "Oh, Azrael's already got too much going on. You need more
yeah.
responsibilities." But like,
I
I don't
like
know.
the idea that though that he doesn't have to be related to a High Lord to just like Reese is just like, "You're in charge, bud." Like, like I like that too.
Sure, but that could explain the extended
Yes,
powers.
yeah, I like that too.
Because if Reese is related to Dorian and Dorian's magic is raw power, then the Night Court power manifestation in Cassian could just be raw power, brute power, and not be shadow
But also, wouldn't he
specific.
be? Well, maybe it's unless it's different with every person because Reese can't use the siphons, So then that could be an issue too. Um, here's the weird.
Well, maybe Cassian took more after the Illyrians, but he just got that bump of power from a powerful Fae.
Yeah,
But he doesn't have Fae ears. But yeah, I don't know.
yeah. I My thing is how why do if what most Illyrians have one siphon? Why do they both have seven? And they're not related?
Because that's the holy
Yeah, but
number.
like so did she just like I want them here's the cool guys and I want them to have seven each and they'll have to make that work
Because
later?
there's seven Asteri because there's seven Asteri and there's seven planets and there's seven High Lords. Seven is a holy
Yeah, but
number.
like I'd be more
Don't
inclined to
get me
believe that
started. There's a
Azriel
whole
and
list of
Cassian
seven.
are brothers. You know what I mean? Because it's weird
Yeah.
that the two
Also,
things
what
happen
makes
to
it
me.
like, but like all not only that, but when like oh they're bred a
Yeah.
certain way. What is your bred Illyrians? What does that mean? Does marriage make you purebred, or
No,
does
no, I think
genetics
it's
make you
genetics,
purebred?
but they're all Illyrian, so maybe they just
But
mean
that doesn't exactly
or the
how are you
nose
how
or the
if an Illyrian and an Illyrian have a baby, that's a purebred Illyrian.
yeah, like, was there
How are
intermixing
they gonna?
earlier and that's
He's
what they're
like,
trying to get out or something? Like, you know yeah.
I
Or
don't
maybe
know,
they just literally mean like, "Oh, well, this Illyrian had 6 siphons and
or
this one
they're
had 5,
or
so you can marry each other because you have more than 4." Like, that
but
type of shit. Exactly.
no one has had more, and two is usually what they get, one or two, right? They get them on the
Okay.
gauntlets.
Yeah, so maybe yeah, so everyone who has 2 has to marry someone with 2 type of thing. Maybe you get to 7 eventually.
Yeah, I
Do you
don't
get
know. I need,
7 to
yeah, because
2
it's just,
different people
it's,
randomly at the same
it's,
age?
yeah, and you're like, and they're, yeah, and they're bred. Like, I just like, it makes no sense if you're like, it's purebred. Okay, well, if there's two people who come from the same place, then that's purebred.
Yeah.
But then I'm wondering, yeah, if it's more of a power thing, is purebred
Yeah.
power.
No, I think it's definitely the power, but, I don't know. I just think it's too now okay, now so I think there's some interesting weird shit with Azrael and Cassian and why they grew up together, they're the same age, they have the same amount of siphons, they're with Reese, the most powerful High Lord. The more likely option, unfortunately, I think is probably that she just like wrote it and didn't think about it that much and was like, let's make Reese the
Yeah, that's
most
fine. I'm okay with that.
powerful and let's make them have really sick ass power. And I hope
No,
not,
I
but
think she I think she thought more about it. I don't know
but
that
it's
she
hard to explain because if you're gonna make
yeah.
something so
Yeah.
weird, you have to have a reason for it. Now, if it's Cauldron, and that's why Feyre and Reese are mated because she's super powerful, and the Cauldron knew that, so they put her with the most like,
Yeah, and like, and maybe it's just like the cauldron knows that the right. I love the idea of it just being like, right, there's something about Cassian and Asriel's little baby souls that is has loyalty or has something, there's some goodness, there's some pureness, there's some not pureness, but like there's some goodness, there's something extra just in their disposition, in what they
Mhm.
are, and the cauldron has then given them extra powers because they know that they have the character to be this thing for the better
yeah.
world, right?
Assuming the
That
Cauldron wants that.
the or that the cauldron is sort of put these machinations together,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's like, I don't know. That also feels just as bad as being like, who's your dad and where's your power come from?
Yeah. Well, I think it works if it called in more as like a fate. Like I knew that this war was coming, and I prepared the most powerful High Lord with two
Mhm.
incredibly powerful Illyrian warriors, like that. But then it's almost like that's
Yeah.
almost it's hard. It's hard to make it work. It's really hard to make
Mhm.
weird coincidences, right? And
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, I went
Yeah.
on a field day with like how how are they like this? This is interesting. And now, if it was just that, like, oh, because we each had seven siphons, we were drawn to each other because that's weird. Then it's like it would make it
Mhm.
work better, you know. But I don't know. Anyway, no, and I don't mean to throw shade at
Well,
SJM,
it's
but
a
it just is
moment.
like I don't know how to make this work. I'm a logistics bitch.
Feyre asks Cassian if he has any gifts. Like them, I jerked my chin to Asriel and Reese. A volatile temper doesn't count, Moore says to Cassian, as Cassian opened his mouth. He gave her a grin, and I realized likely meant trouble was coming, but he said to me, "No, I don't, not beyond a heaping pile of the killing power, bastard born nobody through and through." Reese sat forward like he'd object, but Cassian forged ahead.
Mm. Yes, because that does sound like like it sounds like shit. Bastard were nobody through and through. That's like sounds like you say we're like, don't pay attention to me, you know?
But also, it could, right? Like, what if they're Reese's his dad and he's just like, "You're not."
His dad?
I don't know, it's just no, not Reese isn't his dad, that Reese's dad is
Okay.
Cassian's dad. Where he's like, "I'm a bastard born nobody," and he's like, "The bastard son of the High Lord is not nobody, Cassian."
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that's an interesting part too. Mm. Cassian, there's something to
Yeah,
Cassian.
anyways. Yeah, sorry, anyways, that was a lot of pages
No, it's okay.
ahead. Um,
Um.
yep, and then the predisposition to hear and feel other things that
Mhm.
people can't. What the fuck does that
The
mean?
fuck does that mean? And then we get a lot. Honestly, a lot of the rest of the parts like their their meeting story and how they fought and blah blah blah. I feel like yeah, there's so much of this is like really interesting like lore drops, but it's also not like there's not that much that I parse through. The next line is like about how about his mom.
Yeah, the Illyrians, this is Reese saying, are unparalleled warriors and are rich with stories and traditions, but they are also brutal and backwards, particularly in regards to how they treat their women. Asriel's eyes had gone near vacant as he stared at the wall of windows behind me. I said, "Thinking of his mom?"
Mhm.
Question mark.
And then
And the Reese says that his mother was lowborn, and we get that right. She's the camp seamstress. She was friends with Asriel's mom. We find that out later. And yeah, she like tried to hold off her period for the first time, but then they found out that she'd started. They go to clip her wings. That's when the High Lord's there. The
mhm.
bond snaps for both of them. And then his dad misted everybody, or misted who was holding her.
Yes.
And Feyre's like, "What is misting?" And then he zests a lemon in front of her, and she's like, "Yikes."
Yes. Even though she's already misted something.
So I also said, right, my mother and father, despite being mates, were wrong for each other. My father was cold and calculating and could be vicious, as he had been trained to do since birth. My mother was soft and fiery and beloved by everyone she met. She hated him after a time, but never stopped being grateful that he saved her wings, that he allowed her to fly whenever and wherever she wished. When I was born and I could summon wings as I pleased, she wanted me to know her people's culture. And here's my thing. What if they see, here's the difference between mate bond, willpower, and just
Mhm.
life, right? So maybe they were wrong for each other, right? He's cold, she's soft. Maybe they weren't wrong for each other, but they just kept the dad, just kept making bad choices.
Yeah. Yeah, like if he was a good
You know what I mean?
person,
Like,
he would have been right for her
yeah,
type of thing.
if he had maybe just put her first instead of his hewn city,
Yeah.
right? Or maybe he didn't do his own healing, his own childhood trauma healing
That's what happened
kind
with
of shit,
and Tamlins.
right? Yeah, that like maybe it wasn't about being wrong for each other. It was that he didn't fix himself. He didn't try harder. He made bad choices. He was cold the way that he was raised to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that.
And that Reese is like, maybe that Reese and Feyre, like, yes, they are mates, but it's also that they make choices to be there for each
Yeah.
other. Right? Like, it's kind of feels like to me, like when people ask about like marriage, and like, I'm like, no, you don't just get married and
Mhm.
everything's fine. You don't have one day where you sign a thing off and then things are great and you're just perfect together. You wake up every day and you try to be better than you were the day
Mhm.
before. Like, you got to learn
It's
how to
still a
communicate. You got to learn how to be respectful. It's still work every day. I'm like, I've been with Topher for almost 13 years. We still have to kind of work at it. We got to figure out how to argue and have disagreements and have compromises and find ways to still like each other.
Mhm.
And then you change over the years. Like, who we were when I started grad school is not who we were when we had a first kid versus a second kid versus cross country moving versus COVID versus all
Mhm.
the other things. And so it's like, maybe it's not a matter of being right or wrong for each other. Maybe they were right for each other, but the circumstances of the world around them and whether or not they made good choices for the relationship is what fucked it
Mhm.
up.
And people would so be quick to be like, "Oh, I guess the maid pawn's just wrong sometimes." It's
Yeah.
like, no, the maid pawn's not
Yeah.
wrong. You just like didn't choose to, make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
But I think it does open up the door for,
yeah.
what she's gonna do with Elena and Lucian.
Oh god.
I don't have anything for the next
Oh, I thought
3
it was
pages.
right there. I thought it was so interesting how he said, where does it say that? When I could, and when I was bored and could summon the Illyrian wings as I pleased. Okay, Cassian and Asriel never put their wings away, right? That's why the chairs are made for wings. Is there
Yeah, yeah,
other
no, there as far as
Illyrians that summon wings? Like,
no, it's just Reese.
so is he shapeshifting? Because like that's not how that's supposed to work, right? Like
No, but I think it's supposed to I think it's supposed to be a blend of Night Court High Lord powers and Illyrian powers. That's what happens when those two come together.
that you can hide your wings at will.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just that simple, but I'm like, this is this is.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just a simple glamour. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe he's always walking around with them.
But he can like sort of make
But no, I
them.
don't think so, but I don't think so either because like you can't feel like with glamour, wouldn't you be able to still feel
No,
them?
I think you can like make it so that you also couldn't feel them. We like glamour the. It's not just like a sight thing, is it? Like if someone
I
is
do not know.
glamored and it to be look like a wall, if you reach out and touch them, would you be like, "There's a nose here," or would you be like, "This feels like a wall"?
I do not know.
Yeah,
I don't know glamour. I don't know glamour laws in SJM world.
yeah. I also do like that Cassian and Feyre get each other. Oh, also, Mo Reese's dad likes more. I thought
Yeah.
that was a weird little side conversation. Like, maybe I guess just a rant. Maybe that's harmless, but I was like, and what came of that?
Well, she's born of the Court of Nightmares,
Yeah,
and if he's cold and brutal, maybe that's why.
yeah. I just think it's something to keep in the back pocket. I also like how Cassian and Feyre get each other. You know, she feels some of that with with Reese, but it's kind of nice to like, she can
Where are
see
you
that.
seeing
Oh, it's
that?
when she talks about how Cassian had really struggled. Where does it say that? He talks about like, it's like
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. When they're talking about starving.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's on the
You
next
know what it
page.
was like, the market leaves.
Hmm.
Which is another way that, Reese and all of his friends are also not like Tamlin. It's not like Reese is one way and then all his
Hmm.
friends are like just like Tamlin, little copies.
Hmm.
Like no,
Yeah.
Cassian's also opposite Tamlin.
But yeah, she sees representation in the court, right?
Mhm.
And that was one of the critiques of Tamlin with the tithe, right? She was like, "We don't need the fish. I don't need the jewels. I don't care about the shit that you gave me. I don't need them." And then he says, like, "I gave them to you," and she's like, "You don't know what it's like
Yeah.
to be starving. You don't know what it's like. So fuck off." And here, first time meeting them, they're already having this moment where it's like, I see you.
Yeah.
Real recognize real, like calls to like. They they see each other,
Yep.
but it's also that like, oh, okay. And like it's almost like she can be herself here a little bit. Like she
Yeah.
doesn't have to argue because she has a completely different upbringing and experience. It's finding your
Yeah.
people, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I thought it was interesting that Reese said he'd be hunted his entire life because that's exactly what Ianthe tells about Feyre, and
Mhm.
I'm just like, okay, so you know that she's a high lady, uh, and yeah,
Or that it doesn't scare him the same way. Ianthe uses it as a scare
and
tactic,
he's like,
right?
yeah, that's me, so we're samesies.
Well, or he's just like, look, with great power comes great threat and great responsibility. You just deal with
Yeah.
it. I'm not going to hold myself back. I'm not going to kill myself because I'm going to be hunted. I'm not going to stop myself from trying to be happy and make good choices. I'm not going to stop someone from existing like a child because they're going to be hunted. Okay, so we'll take it as it comes.
Yeah.
And we'll teach them to be strong and we'll teach them to protect themselves and know that they have people here who have their back.
Yeah. I
That's daddy energy. Because here's the
Mhm.
thing, all kids are being fucking hunted right now, right? The world will kill your child,
Yeah.
even the human world, right? There's all sorts of shit,
Mhm.
regardless of actual predators. That's everything teaches you. The second you get pregnant, they're like, cool, don't lay them on their face, they die. Don't let them sleep here or here or here or here or they die. Don't put a blanket in there, they die. Oh, if they have the sniffles, they die. Oh, they have a cold, they die. Like literally everything is going to eat your child
I should
alive.
put them
And
in
then you got to
Valerian
send them
Warnica.
and then you got to well they're not going to get shot. I sent my child to public school.
Yeah.
Like let's be real. So like you can't let those things hold you back.
Yeah.
Whereas like it's a scare tactic in the spring court that Ianthe uses to manipulate where Reese is like, "No, it's they all knew I was going to be hunted my whole life. Okay, so they made me strong."
Yeah.
That's what parents do. That's what a good mom does. She finds ways to protect her kids and teach them to protect themselves.
Yeah.
As opposed to Tamlin, who would be like, "Cool, so you need to be hidden, and any children that we have need to be hidden,
Yeah, that would have been
even
super cool
from
to
each
Feyre.
other, because the brothers are going to try to kill each other."
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually probably what he would have done.
Could you imagine?
Yeah.
She has like 3 kids by Tamlin, and then her sons kill each other.
Dude. Oh my god.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Um, that's crazy.
Anyways,
No,
sorry,
no,
I'm going
no.
off the rails here.
Uh, I just thought it was interesting that Azriel is the one to link them. We hated each other until Azriel came along. I don't really know what that says.
Yeah, because then they can hate Azrael together.
I guess that's true, but it's just like
That's what
interesting. Yeah.
happened. It's like they were like we hated each other and we picked on each other, and then there was a new kid that we can pick on. An enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Okay, true. That's funny. And then, oh, do you think it's weird the way they cut, like, with Azriel flying and with Reese being captured? They're both like, not talking
Mhm.
about that. But do you think that's just because, like, hey, we got a lot of shit to talk about? Or do you think there's anything to those, like, shutting
Oh
down
no,
those
I think there's
moments?
absolutely with the Azrael thing, I think it's because it's not Cassian's story to tell,
Okay. Okay.
and more gets it.
And the Reese thing?
That would be like if they well, like Cassian is just being
Mhm.
Cassian. He's just telling things, right? Blah 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 blah. And then he couldn't even fly. And then Moore, being someone who's like, I don't want anybody else telling my story because my story's fucked up. She cuts him off and is like, keep going, stay on track.
Yeah.
Right? That's not your story to tell. If he wanted to tell the story, he would have told the story in the beginning, but he gave it to you to tell.
Mhm.
And so I think Moore realizes like if Cassian were to be like, oh yeah, and then we found Moore naked with a fucking nail in her gut, like
Yeah, true. She'd be
she,
like,
it's like, well, this is too much, Cassian. Too like Cassian's full ADHD right now, and he's just oversharing. And so she's like, buddy. But yeah, so then the question about that's a story for another time because that's not even like a cute little interruption. Like that's High Lord voice that
yes.
he's just like, hey. And so I was like, because is that related to when he became a High Lord? Because like when he got captured, that was with Amarantha,
Mhm.
and that's its own craziness or whatever. That's some war shit. But it also, when he's telling that story about that, is when he also talks about Tamlin and his family murdering each other.
Mm, that's not during that.
I'm almost sure it is.
No, no, that's during the war. Tamlin murdering his family is like just at another time. I'm 99% sure. I think he probably just doesn't want to bring Amarantha in front of Feyre.
Maybe.
But
Maybe.
yeah, maybe I can look it up. Yeah, because we're
Because she captured him in the war
yeah,
and killed all of his
yeah,
unit in front of him. And then he escaped when she was fighting Jurian.
yes. And then the war's like
And then it
still
was and then it was after the war
yes,
that he became friends with Tamlin.
I think so. Or maybe they were friends like when
Yes.
they were training
No, it
as
was after the war because yeah, but no, because they were friends after. They weren't friends during High Lord stuff. They were friends after the war
they were like in war
because
bands together.
Tamlin was too
Uh
young to fight in the war. So I think there was like he was like, "Oh, it was the son of another High Lord." So we became friends. And I think it was like it probably was kind of a mentor thing.
yeah, actually.
Like Reese is already grown ass man and Tamlin's a young adult. So like maybe it was more of like a I'll teach you how to, because he taught him some Illyrian
Yeah,
techniques,
he
right?
gave him those
The
blades.
blades the blades that Tamlin wears are Illyrian blades.
Yeah.
And then that's when that's when their High Lord powers started to manifest. And that's when Tamlin's dad got spooked and was like, he's gonna have more power. Where is he? And then Tamlin was a little, weak young adult or whatever, trying to be kind to Tamlin, and it was like, oh, Reese is supposed to be in the Illyrian Mountains, and then he wasn't there, and his mom and sister were there instead, and shit went sideways.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't know. Either still, he probably doesn't want her to know about him being captured and tortured, and the ash arrows, and his wings being shredded, and
And
his
yeah.
fucking
And maybe it's a huge
and
side
getting
tangent.
getting his yeah, and getting his that, and it brings him back to talking about Amarantha and talking about how there's an entire unit of Illyrians that are dead because of him.
Yeah. Yeah. I also had this note. I don't know exactly what the Cassian line about not having power.
I just thought it was interesting because he was like, but then Reese was captured, and he says that's a story for another time. And then he jumps to once I became High Lord, I appointed the fourth, and that's why I thought it was like, would this conversation
Okay.
end up running into the conversation about Tamlin?
Yeah.
Because that's where he jumped from. He got captured, he became a High Lord.
Yeah,
And in
probably.
between those times,
Yeah. I can see how
so
that's
that's why I
going
was
to.
like, yeah. I did write that when it says, so he's talking about Reese's father, right? So the prick separated us. He gave Reese command of a legion of Illyrians who hated him for being a half breed, and threw me into a different legion to be a common foot soldier, even though my power outranked any of the war leaders, as he kept for himself as his personal shadow singer, mostly for spying and his dirty work. And I said, I want those stories.
Yeah.
Because that means that Asriel and Reese's dad had a very close working relationship.
Dude, Asriel's book is gonna be so interesting.
Asriel has all the secrets.
Yeah, actually, that's crazy. That is crazy. Oh, I also found the line that I was looking for. It's the line we already looked at with the bastard born nobody through and through. But she
Mm-hmm.
goes, "Do you have any gifts like them?" Morris says a volatile temper doesn't count, and he says, "No, I don't. Not beyond a heaving pile of the killing power. Bastard born nobody through and through." Yeah, the Calder knew it had set us apart and wanted us to find each other. But to me, I just think like I feel like there's more that Cassian could discover because something about him saying like something about the way that he said no, not behind a heaping pile of killing power. Like I just feel like maybe I've just always thought that Cassian has more power, and so this fed into that. It seems less sus now, but when I read it at first, I was like, "This is suspicious." But maybe it's not that suspicious. But anyway, uh, also right after. Okay, so now jumping back to the line where we're talking about that is a story for another time. And then right after, Reese's violet eyes met mine, and I wondered if it was true starlight that flicked so intensely in them as he spoke. I mean, probably just a night thing, but I circled it. I said starlight. I don't know.
Starborn.
Hmm?
Starborn shit.
Yeah, that's what I
That's
mean.
Starborn shit.
That's filed
Yeah.
under my Starborn, building up a case for
Oh,
Reese.
it's all stars and night imagery with
With
rune.
yeah,
It's
and it
intense how
makes
much star.
sense because it's like that's the vibe. But like, I'm still like, this has got to come into play.
Yeah.
Okay, we get a Court of Dreams. The very iconic moment.
I want to know if the people in Hewn City can leave.
I hope so. I hope it's not a freaking prison. I don't get.
Yeah.
I feel like Reese would not say it like that if
I
they
don't
were
think when
actually
he says
trapped
they're
there.
happy to stay there, yeah, rarely leaving.
Yeah.
So they can leave.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I would be like, even if you didn't know if it was Valaris that was an option, but if you hated Hewn City, if you were like, I can't live here, I can imagine that you can have an audience with the High Lord at some point and be like, I gotta go, help me out.
Yeah.
Like we can't. This is not a place for me and my family, and he would smuggle you to Valaris or
Or
to
just be
some
like,
other.
you get to go somewhere because I said so.
It's a huge.
Yeah.
He is the biggest court. You can't tell me that there's not. I mean,
Yeah.
there's other cities. You know.
Yeah. No, definitely.
Oh, I wrote that the world would be remade by the dreamers because it's the court of dreams.
Mm-hmm.
We're connecting to, other themes in other books.
Yeah.
She could already pick up that Boar's story is probably the worst.
Yeah.
Right. I was a dreamer born in the court of nightmares, Moore said. She twirled a curl around her finger, and I wondered if her story might be the worst of them all, as she said, so I got out.
Yeah.
And then they switch subjects because they're like, that's all that Moore's going to tell you about the story. I've already been cut off from Az's story. I've already been told not to tell too much of Reese's story. Moore has basically shut down the conversation. What about you, Feyre?
Mm-hmm.
Also, when she's 8.
I know. There's so many. I think a lot of Carissa Broadbent's characters also are 8 years old. I guess maybe it's just like young but conscious.
Yeah.
I don't
Pretty
know,
much.
but it is weird.
Young, but able to form memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I like that Reese doesn't tell them everything, and Cassian's offering to be a coach, Coach Cassian,
Already. Yep. Jim bro.
which I will say is very like the opposite of Tamlin as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and sorry, before that, she wonders if did the shadows whisper to him? Did they speak in a language at all? Good question. It's only musical.
Where?
It's a musical in his head. It's right above, but when Cassian tells her that she found a teacher. They felt quiet again.
Asriel.
Asriel's gaze now considering. He hadn't told his story. Did it ever come up, or did they never discuss those burns on his hands? And what did the shadows whisper to him? Did they speak in a language at all?
Yeah, that feels.
She already says, what did that not do the shadows whisper to him? What did the shadows whisper to him?
Yes.
She's already recognizing that there's
and maybe that's because Reese says it's like Damati, but yeah, it's weird. I do also like we get more determination. Like I'm not gonna be weak again. It's further. I'm done with Tamlin. I'm diving into this new thing.
I also love how silly the excuse sounds to her the second she voices
because that's
it.
like that happens. That's like always what happens is you say like your worst fear out loud, and you're like, I realize that sounds dumb as fuck. and yeah.
And then it's not even like I do love that like she's not made to feel silly about it, and it's not like where she's like would it send a bad message, right? They're not like, who would think that? Is that what you've been told? Like they don't pry into it. More just goes full like I got your back girl kind of vibe, right? Where she's like, let me tell you 2 things as someone who perhaps has been in your shoes before.
I like the perhaps
someone
too.
who was trapped.
She doesn't presume, but she's like, I think I get you.
Yeah. I was also trapped in a place I didn't want to be, and I wasn't allowed to be myself,
Yeah.
right? Um, and then, the share bond of anger and pain, right? One, you've left the spring court. If that does not send a message for good or bad, then your training will not either. And two, once you live in a place where the opinions of matters, sorry, I once lived in a place where the opinions of others mattered. It suffocated me, nearly broke me. It's exactly how Feyre talks about it. So you understand me, Feyre, when I say that I know what you feel and I know what they tried to do to you, and that with enough courage, you can say to hell with reputation. You do what you love, what you need. That's all she's needed to hear this entire time for her to be like, okay,
Yeah.
I could be that. I can have courage to do that. Cool.
Yeah.
And then also like I'd never had female friends before, which thinks about Ianthe, but looking at more, I couldn't explain it, couldn't understand it, but I felt it. Like I could indeed go to dinner with her, talk to her. And I said, because like calls to like, is she a witch? But also just like a
Yeah.
shared, like, it's like it's like people who have similar traumas end up
Yeah.
kind of making friends with each other because they can just kind of feel that in each
Yeah.
other.
I will also say though, this is also why I don't love the evil more theories, because this has always felt
Yeah.
genuine. Now, we don't see a lot of more after this, and certainly you can fall from grace after, but I don't know. I feel like Feyre has good instincts and she trusts her right now.
I don't it's one line from a villain that makes people think it. And it's a human villain, right? Where she's like, people in the inner circle would love this kind of like to take advantage or whatever. Isn't it Braylon who makes the fucked up comment?
Actually, I think a lot of the evil more theories stem from the fact that Moore is never around when the attacks happen. And that is very suspicious. I thought that's where most of the evil more theories came from, not even that. And that the
Moore's
truth
not
powers,
around when attacks happen?
not a single one. You didn't know this?
No.
Oh. Yeah.
Moore fights with her when Hybern attacks.
No, she doesn't. She is not there.
Interesting. All right, well now I got to pay attention because I did not
I
catch
didn't know
that.
you didn't know that. I thought we had been over that like a long time
No.
ago. Yeah,
No.
I'll see if I can find the TikTok. If somebody made it a while ago and it caught on really hard. But yeah, that is so funny.
Amryn stays back a lot too though.
No, but it's like Hybrid attacks the city and Moore's like, I got there as soon as I could. This thing happens
Mm,
and the day after Moore's like, I can't believe I missed it.
weird.
It is weird.
Yeah, I never picked up on that, so now they gotta pay attention to that shit.
Yeah.
Gwen has been in the library for 3 days.
Who? What? Sorry, I realized I was
Gwen,
muted.
okay, Gwen. Um,
Oh!
so they shift gears. They start talking about Hybern, and so she says, "I'll work with him," and he says, "Good, we'll start tomorrow." Because the king of Hybern is indeed about to launch a war and he wants to resurrect Jurian to do it. Then Cassian's like, that's bullshit. There's no way. Amaranth is just the beginning. Reese had once told me. Why would the king want to resurrect Jurian? Moore asks, right? Blah, 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 blah. I want to find out. Um, then they're like, all 7 High Lords would have to agree to resurrect him. They wouldn't agree to that. And he says, there's Amryn. Sorry, Moore countered. All 7 High Lords would have to agree to that, resurrecting
Mhm.
Jurian. There's not a chance it happens. He'll take another route. Her eyes narrowed to slits as she faced Reese. All the slaughtering, the massacre at temples, you think it's tied to this. And then he says, I know it's tied to this. I didn't want to tell any of you until I knew for certain, but Azrael confirmed that they'd raided the memorial in Sangrava 3 days ago. They were looking for something or found it. That's where Gwen was attacked, was in
Okay,
Sangrava.
yeah.
And Azrael was the one who saved her.
That's right.
So this is 3 days ago. Gwen has been attacked and her all her stuff. So Gwen is currently recovering from her attack and will be in the library.
Yes. Okay.
Also, Moore did not go and rescue Gwen. It was only Asriel. Because Moore is surprised about this.
Oh, yeah. And Feyre immediately knows about the finger and bone thing.
Yeah. And then she puts it together. They never cut the Ator. That's how they got the bone and the ring. And Rhys is like, nope, they didn't. And then I don't know why I don't know why Amryn knows that the bone carver would know about this. That was sus. How does one take an eye and a finger bone and make it to a man again? And she says, you know how to find this answer. Go talk to the bone carver.
Well, maybe he is just like a death, like maybe he's like is he unconfirmed a death god or is he definitely a death god?
He's called a death god.
Okay.
And maybe it's the bone part of it. I'm like, is it because he's the bone carver?
Yeah, like he can say what anyone can do with a bone.
It just seems sus, though, to be like, well, you know who would be able to resurrect somebody? The bone carver.
Yeah.
What? Maybe it's just that he's old as fuck and he knows too many things, and they just know that he's a source of wisdom.
Yeah. And he'll talk to them.
Well, he won't. He won't talk to any of them, but he'll talk to Feyre.
Yeah. Oh, that's
also,
true. Yeah.
What is this? Asriel just shook his head. I'll go. The prison sentries know me, what I am. What does that mean, Az?
Surely that has to do with Shadow Singer.
You just be chilling at the fucking prison, Az?
Yeah, actually, like, what the fuck? But yeah, how bad can it be? Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about, like, you know, the deciding for them to go, except for that, you know, the thing that Feyre has on them is that she's an interesting being, and he'll be like, the fuck?
I do kind of, like, she's found a connection with them enough to work with them. And also, I feel like they've bolstered her enough to give her enough courage to where she's like, and granted, she like is dismissive of it, where she was like, maybe, you know, maybe they'd broken whatever part of me truly feared, or maybe fear was only something I now felt in my dreams. Okay, dismissive. But also, maybe it's just that you're with people who see you and are willing to let you have a choice and are asking for you to do something and help something that you are actually invested in. That she's like, sure, how bad can it be?
Bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So interesting. Also, it's not bad. She just goes there and she's like, okay, you know, it's not that. It's really not that bad.
Well, she doesn't go at first.
Yeah.
She chickens out the first time, but that's because it's under a mountain and that's her own.
It's not really.
But yeah, when she goes, I mean, it's not great, but I think that Cassian also, because he put so many of them there, like his experience in the prison is different, and that's why he's like, it's bad, because he's like, I gotta walk past Anthus and the blue anus. And it's really called a blue annis. It's Annis. That's a thing. We can talk about it when that comes up in whatever. It's the name for a hag. It's a Roman thing. Anyways, I won't get started. But yeah, it's just, you know, it's like there's the blue anus is there. The annis. Yeah. So that's chapter 16.
That was a doozy.
Lots of info. Lots of sus ass Asriel shit. But in like good way sus. It's just I need it to be October.
Dude.
To the stars who listen, we'll see you next week.